I got this idea from watching one of Andrew, and I'm going to pronounce this wrong, I'm sure, and I apologize. Andrew Camarera. He's a young man on YouTube. He does like dirt moving videos, excavating videos. He's got a property management company. Um, he does high quality videos. He's been around forever. And you know what? If you're watching this video and don't know who Andrew Camara is, I don't know what to tell you. You know, I can't help you. Just go find him, watch his videos. They're excellent. He was one of the first people that I started watching on YouTube, and he's just highly talented, very good quality videos, no clickbait crap. Uh, just very good videos. Anyway, I got this idea from one of his videos where he had like I believe it was called like how I got started in excavating, and he went back through pictures of equipment that he had previously purchased, like when he was first starting out, and just kind of showed him on his computer, and just talked about stuff and everything. And that's what I'm going to do on this video. I'm using a program. It's called Bandicam, I believe. There's what it is. It's a free program. Uh, I've been playing with it for a couple days here. Trying to get a handle on it, what all I can do with it, and what the limitations are. Um, I think the free version you're limited to like 10-minute videos. Uh, so you know, hopefully we'll not make this more than 10 minutes long. But anyway, I'm using that to capture and just got my webcam set up here on a tripod. And anyway, we're going to go through some pictures from my previous job. I've always taken pictures. I've always taken pictures here and there of projects I've done, jobs I've done, stuff I've built, and a lot of them has been just lost to time. I mean, they've been on hard drives that have crashed, uh, phones that's been lost, ruined, destroyed, crashed. So there's a lot of stuff that is just gone. Never to be seen, I guess. But anyway, I've got a thumb drive here where I transferred a bunch of pictures from my phone, and I'm gonna go through them and kind of talk about each picture a little bit, maybe. Some of it I'll just kind of blast by. But anyway, we'll try out this format and try this video out. And if you guys like it, feel free to leave me a comment. Hey, we love it. Hey, you suck. You're stupid. You're an idiot. Get the hell off YouTube. Either way, it's not going to hurt my feelings. Okay, the first picture here is this was kind of common in the plant that I worked in. It was this is a pipe that this is schedule 40, I believe, stainless 6-inch pipe, and just abraded away, just ate completely out. They would use compressed air, like big blowers, like big root style blowers, to pressurize these pipes and move material through. And it was little plastic pellets, was what we made. Extrusion, we extruded them down into strands and then cut them with cutters and made plastic pellets for like injection molds and stuff like that, injection molding. And they would just totally destroy anything they came in contact under pressure. It would just eat it away. Um, I don't pretend to know everything about plastic manufacturing. Just dumb welder. And but like the ones that had a lot of fiberglass in them, the PA66, I believe it was something like that. Very abrasive, and would just eat out this plastic or the stainless steel. And so anyway, like this one here, the only thing we could do, this went up, I think, like, I don't know, 60, 70 feet in the air and dumped into a silo, big storage facility tank. And so the only thing we could do is just, whack it off like right there. And here, let me bring this guy up here. We just, whacked it off right there and put a coupling on it and put another piece of pipe down on it. So, that's about the only thing we could do. This is a stand for a cutter I made. Actually, this was an access ramp and platform, I guess you would call it, for a cutter that we had. And I had to build all this. And I think I used something that was already kind of prefabbed, something else that we had. I used to do that a lot there, rather than make something brand new from scratch, with brand new steel. We just use whatever junk we had laying around, really. If it saved money, and just build it. So this was like, I think, like 10-inch I-beam frame here, and you know put a set of legs on it, build a little ramp down. It was mostly so they could get up here and feed this cutter in. It would the strands would go into this section right here, and they'd have to get up here to actually shove them in, and then also for the mechanics to adjust these, to adjust the tension on the cutter and the actual cutter blade, and to work on this area right here. There's another picture of it, just from same angle. Uh, I did not build the actual cutter, of course, nor did I build this blue section here. This blue, anything in blue, I did not build. Anything in red, I did build. So what I had to do is, so anything you see in blue here, I didn't build. Anything you see in red, I actually did build. This thing was originally on wheels, and I had to raise it up and to the height they needed, because the material would come out of this discharge chute right here and drop into it was a classifier, basically a giant shaker, that would shake this material along, and it had holes, in a screen to separate out the bigs from the smalls, and the long, the unusable product. But anyway, it had to be raised up, so it's like 4-inch square tube, I think, is what I used, and just raised it up to the height. And funny story on this one, I do now remember, is I moved it out of my shop. Was not inside the plant. My shop was in a separate facility outside of the plant, and I had this old forklift back here. It was an old Caterpillar gas powered forklift, and kind of iffy. It ran, it lifted, it moved. Brakes were real shady on it. Barely ran, but it was all we had, all I had to use. So anyway, I'm moving this thing into the plant by picking it up, setting it into a dock door, and then coming around the plant. We'll come around into the plant and picking it up from the dock door and taking it over to the area it was being used. Well, I go in and I pick it up, and the dock plate kind of falls down, and I start rolling forward, and brakes are non-existent, not working. So I throw the forklift into reverse. I slam on the gas, and it's chugging and wanting to move, but not really wanting to move. And I had done decided I couldn't even set this thing back down because it was now outside of the door. So I couldn't even set it back down because it was just going to fall. And I'd done decided that me and the forklift was not going out that door, because I was just going to bail off the forklift and hope for the best. So, but luckily it picked up and it come inside, and I was able to move it without killing myself or damaging equipment or machines or anything. So on to the next one here. This is a giant feeder uh, that we had that we had gotten used, of course, to go on one of the lines. I've got other pictures of this. I didn't build this again. We got it like this, and I had to modify and make it work. Okay, there's one of the things I had to do to this one. We actually had two of these. We had two that we'd bought two identical ones, and one of them went on one area of a line, and the other one went to the other area of the same line to feed two different materials into the extruders, and or into the extruder, one extruder. So this was a catwalk that I had to pre-build and attach to the feeder before I set it in place, um, so they could access the top of it. Because this one here they had to hang a bag over top of it that was full of graphite, I believe, is what they use mostly. And so they'd pick up a bag with a forklift, and then have to climb up this ladder and get up there and untie the bottom of the bag and let it drop down in. There's another view of it. So yeah, ladder went down on this side right here, and safety gate up here so they couldn't fall back off. There's one of the stands for one of them feeders that's upside down on my on my welding table. Um, that one of my welding tables that I had. Uh, Again, 4-inch square tube. I think 1/4 inch wall is what I used. Actually, this was 4-inch. This was 3-inch, I believe. Let's see what else. There's another picture of it, all cross braced in, trussed in, and everything like that. We didn't have an engineer. It was just build it as strong as you thought it could be or needed to be. Okay, there's it setting up. This is one thing I always done on almost any kind of stand or whatever I built. Is This is kind of a crappy picture. I don't know if you can see, but right here, I would on the bottom of them of each leg I'd add a plate with a hole to anchor it down, even if they wasn't planning on anchoring it down, even if it was something that was maybe going to move. Put it in before you do it, before you get it all built, because then it's just easier to anchor it down for when they change their mind and decide, hey, it needs to be anchored down to the ground or to the floor actually. And let's see. Oh, this was for the lab. We had an on-site testing lab that would do quality control of the materials, and they had molders to take like little that would make like little sample molds that then they could run through their tests, their destructive tests and everything like that. And this was on the molder. They had gotten this molder and we had put it in, and rather than the things would just fall out onto the ground here, and they didn't want, I don't blame them. They didn't want to have to bend down and pick them up and everything. And yeah, they could have just set a 5-gallon bucket underneath there, but I built them a nice little tray, so the stuff would hit here and slide down here, and the guy could just reach down and pick them up. You know, just kind of make things a little more user friendly for them. This was a piece of junk. This this thing, it was like some kind of super sized shop vac that they had found and wanted to use. And this whole back and whole bottom was just rusted out. This thing had been sitting outside for God knows how long, full of just crud and junk and crap. And they decided they wanted to use it, so I fixed it up. I think I replaced this wheel on it, and I don't even think they ever used the stupid thing. It when I left, it was still sitting in a corner somewhere. They never even hardly used it. This was on one of them big feeders that I showed there a few pictures back. This was the discharge chute. You had a screw that ran through this tube right here, and would push material out and then drop down into either into another screw or into a side feeder that went into the extruder. And again, this this was one of them things. We had to have this. They wanted this section of it, just to contain it, and contain the dust and everything like that. And so I built it. Built this whole box. Built the whole thing. I didn't build the actual tube. We had another company that made them for us. But I built this whole thing out here, and made them a nice like saying screen, viewfinder, view window on the side of it. They used it for like 2-3 months, and they'd have to take it off to clean it and everything like that, and then they just left the stupid ass thing off and just threw it over in a corner somewhere. I mean, aggravating, just aggravating to put time and energy into making something, and they just don't even use it. This thing they actually did use this, mostly because it got bolted into place and they couldn't remove it. They had to have it. This was a, a, a like a chute type of thing, um, chute slash hopper. There was a rope conveyor that came up and fed into this, and this would fill up with material. And then there was a belt feeder, like a little belt conveyor below it that would move the material out and drop it down. It's laying on its side. It's supposed to be stood vertically. I've got pictures of it installed in here. But anyway, then there was a vindicator that went in here, kind of like a metering device uh, that controlled the rope conveyor, and told it how much more to put into it. And I fabricated the whole thing. I think it was out of like 11 gauge, 1/8 inch about stainless, fully TIG welded every bit of it. Um, let's see. Yeah, it's kind of a crappy picture there, real blurry. There's a better one, but yeah, you can see right here is the slide gate. That they would actually open to allow more material to come out, and this was just simply a lifting eye to help move it around. And this was a high quality OSHA approved sawhorse, also known as a welding stool. And another picture of it. And I kind of polished it all up, took a flap disc and kind of shined it up. Didn't make a difference. It was covered in dust within probably a few days. Another picture of it. Another picture of it. I took a lot of pictures of this thing. Okay, right here is where the vindicator bolted at, is into this area right here, and then this area is where the rope conveyor actually fed into. It set on top of here and then dropped down in. And let's see. Okay, there it is installed. There's the rope conveyor. It brings material from a hopper that's probably about I want to say about 15 or 20 feet below this is setting up on top of a mezzanine, and the vindicator is back here. You can just probably barely see the top of it there. Uh, yeah, you can just a little white thing right here. But it worked good. It worked. It worked pretty slick. It was a lot better than what they had there before. Before they had just this big round, uh, like cone shape that didn't work very well at all. Let's see. I think these were filter screens that I fabricated for something. Um, we used a lot of water in that process to cool the material down with and everything. And you'd have to keep that junk and crap and dirt and everything out of the pumps, or try to. So yeah, this was something, I don't know. I can't remember. We couldn't find them, or we couldn't source them anywhere. So that this was just like a mesh screen, stainless steel mesh screen that I had, and I formed these caps right here, and then this is just a stainless steel pipe nipple that I pushed them down into, and tack welded them on the bottom, and then this would thread into like a bung, before it discharged out back into the pump. And I mean, it worked. It worked pretty good. They could unscrew it and wash it out and blow it out and put it back. This was a 35 foot long screw conveyor that we had built with another company. Built the actual screw, the actual trough, and because I didn't have the capabilities to build that, and then I built the framing underneath of it here. But oh yeah, this one underneath that other one of them other big feeders, and it would drop down into this end and then transfer material up and drop it into the main feeder of the extruder. And it was it was kind of a bear to for me to set up by myself. Mostly, this was at a time that I was working in this shop by myself, and so I had forklifts and cranes and everything I had to try to get this thing level. Well, obviously not level, but try to get it straight and on a plane and not twisted one way or another. And it was kind of a bear to do, but I got it done, and it worked out good. And yeah, there's another picture of it. It got a big hopper, on this end of it. I'm pretty sure I got pictures of that on here too. This was all stainless. This was just regular carbon steel. And I wouldn't do anything special. When I had to weld carbon to stainless, I think I'd use like 309, either stick rod or MIG, and it worked. It worked good. Never really had a problem with it cracking or anything like that. Of course, I didn't have to build anything to code. It was just make it work. This was the hopper that went on that screw conveyor that I just showed. Yeah, that guy right there. Uh, yeah, this was the hopper that went on this back side right here, down here. And again, I think it was 11 gauge, 1/8 inch stainless. I think I TIG welded it together. I remember the geometry was kind of gave me a little fits on this, because this had to set, yeah, this had to be at an angle to get this flat, when the screw's setting at an angle to get that top flat, and then of course each side had to be at a different angle. And I think I done the whole you know cut everything out of cardboard first and lay it out and tape it all together and test fit it to work. And if that worked, great. Take your cardboard, lay it on the paper, lay it on your steel, cut it out, and there you go. Bob's your uncle, as our friends down under like to say. England also. Don't they say that in England? I believe. Yeah. Anyway, there's another picture of that. And I believe I had to go in and add add little bars in here to keep them from cramming stuff down in that screw. They'd take broomsticks and stuff, to try to get material unstuck, and I had to put something in there to keep them from getting fingers and toes and anything else that they wasn't supposed to put in there and out. Oh, this was a fun one. This was a good one here. So we had a what was that thing? Aerial, like JLG. It wasn't a JLG brand. It was a Simon brand, I think. Uh, Propane powered, off road, way bigger than we need. It was great for outside. It was great for out on the storage pad and stuff like that. But inside the plant, useless. It was way too big. I mean, the damn thing had, I think, 32-inch off-road tires on it. You know, nobody knew what happened to it. They found it like this one day with the whole cage all bent in, and of course, it was unusable at that point. So drag it down to John and see what he can do with it. And I think I ended up cutting pretty much the whole thing off and rebuilding it. This wasn't a absolutely needed it right now thing. We didn't use that thing enough to really need it right now. So this took me, I think, a couple weeks to do. I just work on it when I had time. And, I think I got a picture of it completed on here. Yeah, so you cut all that there out, cut the arms off and everything. Yeah. This was a broken tap. Uh, I think I actually broke the tap off, and this was probably one of the tiniest ones I've done. This one was kind of small. That's why I laid a quarter next to it. So I broke it off down inside of a hole, and I TIG welded. I'd use TIG to build it up, and then weld a nut on it and backed it right out. Of course, you're not drilling out a tap. If you got carbide bits, you can do some work to them and everything. But generally, you're not drilling out a tap. So you're either going to break it and take it out in pieces, or you're going to hopefully weld something to it and just back it out. And broken bolts, broken taps, always, always, I always try to weld something to them and bring them out first before I start drilling on them, because there's always a chance you're going to off drill it and get in a thread and cause more issues than you need. So I always just try to weld a nut to broken things and bring them out that way first. Oh, uh, this was a bit of redneck engineering here. Uh, the One of them screws in the feeder, the big feeders, little pigtail screws. They'd bound it up and bent it or something like that, and needed it straightened. Of course, they needed it right then. Line was down. Losing production, and so of course, I didn't have any way to straighten a twisted screw, but so I came up with this rig. And what it is let's see, how the hell did this thing work? Okay, this piece of pipe right here was fastened to this piece of pipe, which was a collar that I welded this on, and then I used, I put a lifting eye on it to hook to the crane. All right, and then on the bottom, yeah, on the bottom, this piece of pipe right here that I welded this hoop on slid, slid over top of this piece of pipe. So I welded the back part of the screw on there and the front part of the screw on this piece of pipe, and the only thing I really had to pull it with was the overhead crane, and of course I needed something to pull it against, so that was the forklift. It was the heaviest thing that I had in the shop, so I just put a shackle on it down here and run it on there and straightened it out, and it worked. I ended up welding it back together, put it back in. They ran it that evening. Yeah, there was there was what it looked like after I stretched it, and it's got a little bit more of a twist to it, but that's actually how it was designed. Uh, was that towards the end it sped up and moved material faster at the end. So there we go, YouTube. I'm actually going to probably make this 2 videos because I've got like 2.5 hours of footage, I think, here. But I'll get them uploaded, get them edited, and if you guys like this stuff, I'll try to find other pictures and and other stuff that I've done, and make some more like it. And we'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one.